What is up, my friends? How are we? It's a brand new week here on Anfield Agenda, and you are very welcome along to Monday Night Show. Of course, all of our conversations going to be focusing on building up to the game against Paris Saint-Germain on Wednesday. We're going to tell you about a couple of reports today that might be of interest to you. Some of them claiming that it could be possible for Jurgen to come in for a short time, and also that Xabi Alonso could be willing to take the job immediately and not just in the summer. We'll talk you through that. We'll talk about Camavinga. We'll talk about the situation with Van Dijk, because some journalists are saying he isn't the player he once was, and we're going to be asking how much responsibility on this failure of a season comes down to the players, because we've spoken about the manager quite a bit, and rightly so, but we cannot excuse the underperforming players either of not doing their part. So all of that and lots more to come up over the next couple of hours. The preview for the game against Paris Saint-Germain is coming out tonight at 10:40, so that'll be after the stream. A new episode of the Anfield Agenda podcast is going up on Spotify this evening as well. Myself, Connor and Chris got stuck into everything Liverpool Football Club related, and yeah, again, your thoughts and feedback on that is very much welcome. So I hope you're all in good spirits, or as good as it can be this evening. Obviously, we know it's a big week for the Reds. We've got Paris Saint-Germain on Wednesday, 8 p.m. kickoff, which means we'll be live here from 6:45 p.m. to take you through it, come what may. And yeah, we'll talk about that tonight as well. The first poll question for the night that I've asked you is there any chance Alonso comes in before the end of the season? Now, it probably feels a bit random for me to ask that question, but it's coming off a piece that I read from what used to be the Bayern Space account, and I'll read that out in more detail for you in a bit. But to summarise it, they said that there is a possibility that Jurgen could be tempted to come in the short term, and then they went on to say that there's also a possibility that Xabi Alonso could be willing to come in now, and then they gave reasons as to why. Now, for me, this is going to sound like a weird sentence to say out loud, but I'm going to try and justify it. I don't want Jurgen Klopp to come back in till the end of the season, because it would just be heartbreaking to say goodbye again. And on top of that, then any manager, let's say Alonso, that comes in after that, it would feel like, again, you're coming in straight after Jurgen. So for me, unless Jurgen was coming back in to sign another 5-year contract, I would pass on that one, as tempting as it would be, for the reasons that I've said. Now, the Alonso situation, again, I'll read through the piece in more details for you in a while, but the crux of the matter for him was that Alonso done similarly with Leverkusen, coming in when they were faltering, put his stamp on, and then obviously got to build on that moving forward, and the next season, we know what happened. So that's why I'm asking tonight, do you guys think that there is any chance that we see Xabi Alonso coming in before the season ends? I don't think it's likely myself, if I'm being honest with you, but I'd love it to happen. Because if there's one thing that really shone through in the conversation that I had with Connor and Chris earlier about the rest of this season, is that none of us were in any doubt that sticking with Slot is not going to give us the best chance. It looks like it's what's going to happen, but I really, really don't think it's what's going to give us the best chance to get results in these last few games. I also wanted to talk about a piece written by Oliver Holt, which, I'm not going to lie, it's rubbed me up the wrong way. But again, I want to know your thoughts on this. So basically, Oliver Holt writes a piece, and I think it's for the Daily Mail, and he said, on Arne Slot, he worked wonders at Liverpool in his first season. This season, he's trying to guide the club through a storm. After everything he achieved, it's time to cut him a bit of slack. And the tagline for the article was, should Liverpool sack Slot? Don't make me laugh. Now, this has gone down about as well as a lead balloon, and underneath the piece there are lots and lots of Liverpool fans, a lot of whose opinion that I hold quite highly, basically ripping into this article being a joke of a piece, because the data just doesn't back up what Oliver Holt wants to get across there. So Sam Maguire said he inherited a team that finished on 82 points. And when we won the league, he had us to 84 points. So not exactly a huge turnaround. On top of that, in Liverpool 23-24 season, we scored 86 goals and 41 conceded. That was the season that Jurgen didn't win the title. The season Arne won the title, 24-25, exact same, 86 goals scored, 41 goals conceded. So he didn't exactly set the world on fire as much as he did get us over the line to win the league. So Liverpool fans are just, again, not buying this and calling out the journalist for what is another clear and obvious attempt to convince us that Arne needs a break. Maxi, how are you, my man? Maxi said, Craig, how are you? We won't be PSG, let's be real. I don't think we're going to be PSG either. The only hope, Maxi, that I've given us in my mind is if the players are just so filled with desire to get through and park their egos and actually play. You know, maybe they want revenge for last year. Maybe Szoboszlai and Kerkez are super focused on the fact the finals in Budapest and would love to get there. Other than that, it's difficult to make a case realistically for how we get through. But, you know, cards on the table. For me, it's about making sure the tie isn't dead before it comes back to Anfield for the second leg. You know, if we can get out of there in somewhat decent shape, you know, I'm going to take that as a positive, because my big fear, Maxi, is that this tie's over before it even comes back to Anfield. You know, if we show up like we did against Man City, this could be messy. Tipsy Dipsy can confirm that Tinky Winky is available in the interim. Well, keep him on standby. Is it a him? Keep them on standby. I don't know if Tinky Winky's male or female, but yeah, keep Mr. Teletubby or Miss Teletubby on standby there for us, and this Teletubby will just keep going doing his bit as well. So, Kokite said, Isak needs to be involved. We need a goal scorer, and his Newcastle form is still there. It's asking a lot, though, to expect Isak to come back in and give us any more than maybe 10 or 15 minutes towards the end. Yeah, I'm certainly not expecting to see him in the starting 11. I think there's no chance that that's going to happen. But even just seeing him on the bench is going to be a bonus mentally for us, and I'm sure for the players as well. Echtelio, excuse me, said, Craig, he played a Klopp slot hybrid up until the season was won. After the Spurs game and since, he played his own tactics, and we needed 2 losses and 2 draws, and since then we've been garbage. He doesn't adapt. I agree with what you said there, and I was one of the few people who were calling out the end of last season, and I absolutely agree with you, my friend. This didn't start this season. It absolutely did not. And again, the revisionism of how last season went, they're painting a picture like last season was just an incredible success. Last season in the league was absolutely a lovely bonus. No denying that. My goodness, we enjoyed it and we didn't expect it. But let's look past just the league. In the League Cup, we were beaten in the final against a team that, let's be honest, we should be beaten, but we were outcoached, outfought, outthought and lost. In the FA Cup, well, you know what happened there. You don't need me to explain that one to you. We went out to Plymouth. And then, of course, in the Champions League, it was a competitive tie over 2 legs and we went out. But there were still plenty of failures and plenty of warning signs there last year. So for me, yeah, this didn't start this season. It's a continuation of the frustration from last season. Quick question, when is your next podcast? I mentioned it, you must have just missed at the start of the stream, bro. It's out tonight. We recorded it earlier on at about 7 o'clock. So it will be out on Spotify probably 9 o'clock tonight. And then, of course, some clips up on the YouTube channel. But yeah, it was enjoyable. It was great to be back chatting with Chris and Connor, 3 of us together. And we're going to be doing another one in between the PSG game and the league game this weekend. So it should be another one out on Thursday night, I think, my man. Florian Plettenberg just gave the eyes emoji and a tick to a post about Konate signing a new deal. Very good news. I hope he's right. Yeah, there's definitely been some positivity around the idea of Konate signing a new deal. There was a piece earlier on that said, let me read it out to you. So it's from Tanzaloik and it's on the Anfield Agenda X account, and it said, Liverpool and Ibrahima Konate have never been closer to striking an agreement. There are, however, details that iron out, and in the meantime, Spanish clubs are attempting to scupper Liverpool's renewal plans. Real Madrid have been touted as an admirer. The likelihood, however, is that the Frenchman stays on Merseyside and he aims to make his decision within the next few weeks. So look, again, that's a good thing. Continuity is a good thing, but competition is what's going to be needed next year for places as well, because what we didn't have the luxury of this year was really rotating or replacing some of the underperforming players, not just at centre-back. You can talk about in the wing positions, in midfield. So yeah, look, I don't mind if Konate stays, but we do need to make sure that we're competitive next season. Let me read something out to you guys that I want to just get your feedback on more than anything. So this is from Alex Crook, and he's been talking about Virgil van Dijk. And he said this, I don't think he's been a great leader this season, Virgil van Dijk. The interview, he's saying the same things in some ways, We have a big game against PSG. We're up for that. And then he said, tell your face, mate, because you're stood there with your shoulder slumped. And again, I agree. There's been too much talking about what they know they have to do and not enough doing it. Ian Ladyman said, Slot is in deep sacking territory now. Slot now presides over a group of players no longer willing or able consistently to do the very basics of the game. When you get to that stage as a manager, the next one normally involves you packing your bag. Alex Crook, talking about the current iteration of Liverpool, said as soon as they conceded, they absolutely collapsed. This is not an issue of ability, but an issue of their mentality. This is a team Jurgen Klopp used to call mentality monsters. They're anything but now. Florian Wirtz has taken a bit of time to find his feet, but he's played well at times. I think he played well in the first half an hour on the weekend, but the players don't seem to be on his wavelength. Also, Alex Crook said this, it's just too easy. It's too easy just to blame the manager. We always blame the manager now, and it gives the players an escape. At some point, those players need to take accountability, not just for giving interviews, do it on the pitch. These are big players earning massive money and are letting the club down. And he said, I think Slot will survive until the end of the season. Ideally, the hierarchy want to give him more time after that, but he isn't going to get it, because the fans aren't going to stand for it. But, look, a lot of what they said there about the players, I can't push back against. And that is where I wanted to take this conversation tonight, because these players are underperforming. And what we don't know as fans is, are they underperforming because of the manager? Are they underperforming because of a lack of confidence? Are they underperforming because they feel they won the league last year and they can coast a bit this year? I don't know the answer to it. I don't know the reasons why. But I do know that they are not playing to the best of their abilities. They are not trying as hard as they can. And they are giving up too easily. So, again, I guess it's up to everybody to try and figure out why they think that is. It's one of these really tricky things as fans where we don't ever say players have down tools. But they're not far off that accusation now. Because they've shown us what they can do. And now they've shown us that they can give up. And it's so unlike us. And it's the thing that surprised me most about this season is, yes, of course, we have our own talk about the manager. But the way these guys have accepted their fate, it's just not been good enough. And the lack of leadership is something that you guys have highlighted many times, and more than fair. Gesticulating, waving your arms around and pointing fingers isn't leadership. So we need to see more of that out there on the pitch as well, because yes, Arne can tweak things and change things, but unless the buy-in is there from the players, nothing's going to change. And the players need to be reminded, you're not just playing for that manager, you're playing for the fans, you're playing for that badge, you're playing for the right to wear the liver bird on your chest. That means something. And if that doesn't mean something, sincerely, pack your bags and go. Because if you think you're too good to work hard, if you think you're too good to put in the difficult yards, make the tackles, get back and defend, sorry, not good enough. Hard work is a basic, and you don't get anywhere without that hard work. You have to match the intensity and the fighting spirit of your opponents, and then let your class shine through. Have I bet on PSG to win? I've bet £650. No, I haven't, mate. I haven't put a bet on in a good while, to be honest with you. Yeah, sorry. I haven't put any bets on. And if I was, I wouldn't be betting on us to win. I can say that. But yeah, I won't be putting a bet on one way or the other. And Ordior said, Sup Craig, you watched Invincible, you should, it's great. No, I haven't, but I'm not sure if I'm remembering the right show or not. It is something I've heard good things about, but my to-watch list is getting longer and longer, unfortunately. Right, let's get into it. So the poll question for tonight is there any chance Alonso comes in before the end of the season? And we'll leave that one running for a little bit longer. Wes said, they have down tools, we concede with and our heads go. It's also on the manager, his tactics are non-existent, complete opposite to last season. With the second half, we look worse. Again, can't argue with you on that one. Not that I want to argue with you, mate, but I guess I'm just trying to find psychologically in my own mind how much of this is on each part of it. So for me, there's failures in the executive's position. There's a lack of continuity and thinking going forward there, because we don't know what's going on with Hughes. We don't know what's going on with Edwards. We don't know what's going on with the manager. Then we talk about the players. Well, Konate, maybe we're moving towards a conclusion there. Robertson, we don't know what's happening, and as each week goes by, it's looking more and more likely to me that Robbo's probably going to head off for pastures new. Don't know the situation at right back. Don't know what's happening with Harvey Elliott. Don't know how the impact of Mohamed Salah leaving is going to impact. And that's before we get into what we need to address for next season on the pitch. So I'm concerned not just for the here and now. I'm genuinely concerned for the long-term plan as well. And we'll talk about that in more detail later on. Craig, ask yourself this. Slot has humiliated, treated players badly. How do you think his teammates react to Slot blame? I'm not for 1 second, Stephen, trying to say that the manager hasn't had multiple failings. They absolutely have. But we can't just absolve the players of this. Because what's going to happen here, Stephen, is Arne gets sacked, new manager comes in, and you'll see a reaction from the players. Now, I guess our argument as fans here is, why don't we see this reaction for the fans? Why aren't they playing with the respect the fans deserve? Why aren't they putting in the hard yards for the people that are paying their money to follow them, to watch from all around the world? So down in tools for a manager is one thing, but not putting in effort for the fan base that has been incredibly supportive, I find concerning as well. Maxi said, when Isak is back in the starting lineup, Ekitike should start on the left. Slot Defo should be sacked. I turned off to when Man City scored the third goal. So on that third goal, and you guys can help me out with this one, is the third goal the one where Semenyo scored? Because if my memory's right, the third goal is the one where Joe Gomez took a throw in, threw it to the fucking invisible man. It found its way to Cherky. Cherky slipped the ball through, and then Semenyo lobbed it over the keeper who was coming out. If my memory's right, that goal is an absolute disgrace. Because how do you go and just throw the ball aimlessly in a direction? And look back on it. There was no Liverpool player within 3 to 5 yards where that ball went. So the lackadaisical attitude of that throw-in at a time where, remember, we were 2-0 down and making sure that we didn't concede the next goal was the aim of the game. So to just throw the ball over so lazily and to then leave the space in behind for them to just walk through, it just encapsulated everything that's wrong with this team at the minute for me. And it really wound me up the more I've watched the game back. Just quite how untuned in they were. And how much they really didn't have the hunger to turn it round. Because if we had got the first goal of that second half, different game altogether. But we didn't. And within 5 minutes, we conceded a third. And you know what happened after that. Craig, seeing Linders on the touchline celebrating like that made me sick. I'm the same, David. Same when he was celebrating at Anfield when they beat us there as well. But again, speaks to his lack of a moral compass, in my opinion. Skater Hardy said, is it possible that the players are also thinking long term? If they perform for the fans, maybe there's a chance of Slot leaving. Like, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, I probably have no right to say this, Skater Hardy, but I'm really disappointed that those players didn't reimburse the fans that went to that game. I feel like that's the very least that they can do, is to do something to apologise for the fucking disgrace of a performance they put in at the Etihad. You know, this was one game away from giving Liverpool fans a chance to go to Wembley and a chance to cheer Liverpool into a semi-final. And, you know, with Arsenal going out as well, that competition is open right up. So that really wound me up. I don't think there has been enough apologies for that. And I don't usually ask for apologies from players, but the way those fans were mistreated by that level of performance, it hasn't sat well with me. It really hasn't. And I don't often, I don't come to bat all the time for the people that are lucky enough to get home and away, but I really feel for them in this scenario. And for them to walk out at 60 minutes, I know what it would have took for them to do that. I know how deeply hurt they would have had to have felt to walk out at that point. Stargirl, how are you, my friend? Said VVD's ability is not declining. He has had to play every game. He's trying to be everywhere. because definitely midfield is rubbish and leads to bad decisions. Well, on that, let me just read you out something, Stargirl, that caught my eye. 1 second. It's here. And P. Hall wrote this piece, right? So he said, Van Dijk is not good enough for Liverpool anymore. Sometimes you have to leave football before it leaves you, the Jamie Carragher quote. But this is what he wrote. It was Van Dijk's body language that gave the starkest indication the decline is potentially permanent. As Haaland reeled off to celebrate a 28th career treble, Van Dijk chased upfield to berate Dominic Szoboszlai, who did not look best pleased to be receiving such vitriol before looking to others to blame. With time to reflect after the game, Van Dijk may look a little closer to home. With one Liverpool legend departing for pastures new in the summer, another may start to perhaps think of doing the same. And I guess it's an interesting talking point. Are we seeing a decline in Virgil? Is it, like Stargirl said, because he's had to play every game? Because there have been more and more mistakes creeping into his game. I think we said before, he's given away more penalties, or the same amount of penalties this season as he had in his whole Liverpool career up to that point in the league. And one thing I can't really push back on is, I feel so bad saying this, but I don't understand the brand of leadership. I don't understand the gesticulating, waving the arms around and pointing fingers at people. It's just, I don't like it. And I've made this point many times over the years. I think if you've got a manager and a coach who are both kind of passive in the way that they go at these things, it just doesn't work. And Virgil, and again, I've said this multiple times, I've always liked the idea of taking the captaincy off him and letting him concentrate on playing football. Because he himself has said before that being captain of the Netherlands, being captain of Liverpool, it does add an extra mental fatigue to everything. And again, I just want Virgil to be at his best and playing. And I'm now worried for the first time that maybe he is going to depart. Maybe he does go this summer. I mean, it's not out of the realms of possibility, especially if the media keep pointing fingers and, you know, saying Virgil needs to take a look closer to home and he's no longer good enough to play for Liverpool. I mean, I'd hope that would provoke a response in a positive way from Virgil, that he's going to show it on the pitch. But, you know, this keep the outside noise quiet stuff that Virgil comes out with, I don't like it, because you've got to listen. You can't just keep all the noise outside because you're happy to take the praise. So I think you got to listen and be mindful of the criticisms as well. Derek said, Craig, do you think it's time for a change of captain? Such a tough one, this, Derek, because yes is probably my honest answer. But I do think it's really difficult to see a scenario where you take the captaincy off Virgil, he plays next season and someone else is the captain. I think, again, that's just sending out a message that there could be some uncomfortable moments, morale-wise, in that scenario. Yeah, it is tough because we all respond to different things from captains, you know. Some people need somebody who leads by example. Some people need an arm around the shoulder. Some people need a good rollicking. Yeah, it's a tough one. And I'm sure Virgil knows the personality of each of those players in the dressing room and what they respond to, but they ain't responding at the minute. And, you know, when you are flailing your arms around and gesticulating, it's not a good look when things aren't going well. Because it can be perceived as you looking to point the finger of blame elsewhere and not taking it on your own shoulders. So, I've talked to you guys about the reason for the poll tonight. And if you haven't voted, please do. If you've got a good 2-3 minutes there where you don't mind me ignoring you guys and reading something out, I want to read something out to you that is extremely interesting and also extremely thought-provoking. And this is from what used to be the Bayern Space account that now just goes over space and at ITK space on X. So the account is back. Obviously, removed the Bayern part. And I want to read out to you the post that they put up today. It's a bit wordy, so bear with me. But it said, I can now reveal it is becoming increasingly clear through a series of renewed conversations across multiple connected circles that the timeline surrounding Xabi Alonso is no longer as fixed as it had been only months ago, and is now beginning to shift as underlying intentions quietly evolve. Following his departure from Real Madrid, Alonso made it explicitly clear internally, as first revealed, including in a direct exchange with Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, that he would only take over a new club in the Premier League at the end of the season, a position that for a long period was treated as settled and not subject to change, with the shift now occurring not in the direction itself, but in how strictly that timeline is still being held by himself. He goes on to say, in recent weeks, and increasingly in recent days, Xabi Alonso has opened himself to the possibility of stepping in earlier, even within the coming weeks, a development that has also been reflected in conversations with Florian Wirtz, with whom contact has remained intact, and what elevates this beyond a simple adjustment is the context surrounding it, as Florian Wirtz and Jeremy Frimpong, both of whom experienced Alonso's methods firsthand during their time together at Bayer Leverkusen and now play together again at Liverpool, have repeatedly revisited internally how Xabi's mid-season arrival in Leverkusen allowed him to establish immediate authority, implemented first principles without delay, and create a structural foundation, and was later amplified through a full pre-season, ultimately leading to the unbeaten run that followed. That exact pathway, once viewed by Xabi Alonso as out of the question, given his intention to take a 6-month break and only now assume a new role at the start of the season, is increasingly being discussed again, reflecting not only Florian's preferred outcome, but also a growing feeling on his side, shaped by the more recent conversations with Xabi, that his earlier arrival is now seen as realistic and potentially preferred scenario. An underlying logic no longer centred around waiting, but rather around controlled early implementation. Sebastian Parilla, Alonso's assistant, remains central to those dynamics, with his continued involvement and recent contact reinforcing a growing internal feeling that is no longer purely a long-term scenario defined by a summer transition, but one that could accelerate depending on how the Liverpool situation develops. That said, a notable degree of uncertainty persists, particularly around Florian Wirtz and Jeremy Frimpong, and within the dressing room more broadly, where there is little clarity over Liverpool's hierarchy intends to proceed, leaving players largely in the dark while competitive objectives, including the Champions League, have not fully run their course. Running parallel to this, and not without significance, is a separate background development involving Jurgen Klopp, with the information originating from Bayern Munich relayed through channels communicated to the partnership with Telecom Magenta, following a recent Telecom event where Jurgen, alongside Thomas Muller and Mats Hummels, was presented in his role as a pundit for the upcoming World Cup, and where it indicated that behind closed doors, Klopp suggested a short-term interim return to Liverpool until the end of the season would not be entirely out of the question, accompanied by loose yet existing lines of communication with figures inside Liverpool's hierarchy, leaving the broader situation increasingly fluid as viewed alongside the movements around Alonso. As Liverpool appear to be exploring multiple internal pathways, a dynamic that contrasts and the more consistent backing of Arne Slot currently being reflected through well-connected journalists close to the club. Lot there to unpack, but as you can see, the gist of it was that account believes that Alonso's willing to come in earlier, and that to a certain extent Klopp will be willing to come back in as well. So I've thought about this long and hard, and I can actually see some sense to what they said, as much as I can't tell you how true it is or not. But the idea of Alonso coming in now, and even just getting the lay of the land, because remember, this is a short summer where we have a World Cup coming up, so the manager, whomever they are, isn't going to have as much time in the training ground as they'd want. So any positive steps that you can take to ease that transition, if the manager's up for it, I wouldn't be against it. I'd love to think that Alonso could come in with a similar mindset that he did when he went to Leverkusen, that, all right, we'll stop the rot, we'll lay down the marker, we'll let players know what they're going to have to expect, and then of course we'll let others know who they'll be coming into play for as well. So I love the idea of it. I just don't know if there's any credence to it or if it's just waffle. Spartan said, Craig, I have a nauseating feeling Xabi is going to join Pep Jr. in City. I could be hanging myself out to dry here, mate, but I really think that Maresca is going to take that job when he leaves, and I think it's pretty much a done deal. Maresca certainly feels that way anyway. So yeah, that's that. Maybe I'm just trying to cod myself and not open up to the possibility that maybe we lose out on Alonso. But if we do lose out on Alonso, it's our own fault at this point. If you're a slot, what's the game plan going into PSG? So again, talked quite a bit about that over the last day, especially when I was putting out my preview. And I think some of you are going to be annoyed by my team selection in my preview, but I've tried to explain it as best as I can. So the aim for me for this game is for it not to get beyond being winnable at Anfield. Might be a bit of a negative mindset, but for me, we've got to make sure that this tie is still in the balance when it comes back to Anfield. You know, and a 1-goal, 2-goal deficit is potentially achievable to turn around. But my big fear is that if this goes messy, this could be all over before it comes back to Anfield, and the second leg could be a stroll in the park for them. So go over there, keep it as tight as you can. Yes, by all means, have a go, but nothing stupid, no needless red cards, no stupid penalties given away. And again, try to frustrate them as long as possible. That's it for me in the first leg. And then bring it back to Anfield and hope we can do something. So if I'm the manager, that's probably the road I'm going down. Jaden said it will take another 10 years to undo what Slot did. So not only did Slot do it, the club did it. Let's not forget this, because he was appointed by people that researched. And we can't excuse Hughes and Edwards in this, because they spent so long looking into the mentality of the coach, the style of football of the coach, what he's good at, what he's bad at, what he overachieved at Feyenoord, maybe what he underachieved at. And they came to the conclusion, again, as Stargirl has very eloquently put many times, that there was a very similar trait in Arne that he could continue Jurgen's work. And as somebody pointed out at the very start of this stream, as soon as the league title was won, we fucked up and changed. And he hasn't been able to get it back since. So I think blame has to be spread around here. And Hughes and Edwards certainly need to communicate more with fans. Because a big problem is, right now we've got a director of football, and whatever Michael Edwards is, briefing their friendly journalists what they want to know, and think that that's somehow communicating to the fan base. But what we haven't heard from these guys is any type of plan, any type of addressing the fan base, that they understand the frustrations that they're going through, that they understand that fans want change, and that they are working relentlessly to try to figure it out. It's pathetic. It's cowardly. And I've said this so many times. It's easy to just move around in the shadows, brief those that you are friendly with, but you were ignoring the feelings of millions of fans around the world who aren't feeling like there's anybody, and I mean anybody, pulling for them. You know, and whatever way you are in this situation, I think it's fair to say there hasn't been a great channel of communication from the club towards its fans. You know, the attempt that they made with that round table was an embarrassment. So I think, again, plenty of blame here. And I don't know what is going on with Hughes and Edwards. Because like we said yesterday, that piece from Jason Birch saying that the noises around Saudi aren't going away. There's just so much uncertainty. We've got disinterested owners who were never fucking here. We've got Hughes and Edwards who literally think that they're untouchable and don't need to communicate anything to fans, and continuously brief their mates in the journalism world that the club are fully behind Arne Slot despite all the evidence to the contrary. So, a couple of questions that I'd have. One, where is the removal of emotion from the decision? Because there is no metric, there is no argument to put forward that Arne is changing this, turning it round, or figuring it out. There is no real indication that he'll be able to sort it out next season. So for me, arrogance, which is an emotion, is one of the things that is keeping this man in the job. The arrogance that they believe they're right, and damn what else happens. And for us as fans, that gets to see the end of this season just run into the ground. Because, like I said at the start of this stream, myself, Connor and Chris, and I can't speak for everybody else, we all feel that the best chance we have to do anything positive at the remainder of this campaign is to get rid of the manager. And at least get somebody in who can motivate the team and get a response from them. So my question to John W. Henry, Tom Werner, Mike Gordon, and everybody else associated with the club is, how is keeping Arne involved right now giving us the best chance? It's either you don't give a fuck as long as we scrape into Champions League, or you're deluded. Because there is no reason to think that somebody who has failed for 9 months is suddenly going to be able to get the points we need to get us over the line or win this Champions League. And I would argue, on behalf of pretty much every fucking Liverpool fan on the planet, that the best chance that we have is to break the cycle we're in now, reset, and get some confidence into the boys. And I don't even understand how this is a debate. Because, again, what's that famous quote? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. Why does it have to get to the point where we're beyond help? It's just so frustrating as a fan to see it happen again. That like they almost will only admit defeat when the whole season's fucked and there's nothing to be saved from it. Merrick said, today is my 30th birthday and I've only just found out how to send a membership chat. Much love to you and the family. Well, thank you so much for your support, my friend. Happy birthday to you. I wouldn't mind swapping and having me 30th all over again. But yeah, wishing you the very best. They won't let him go till the summer out of respect as he won the league title. I mean, I just don't get that personally, because that's just admitting that we don't have any type of standards, you know. And again, they're going to sack him in the summer. The damage for this season will have already been done, and right now, you know, are we going to qualify for the Champions League? Chris read through the fixtures that we have left to me earlier on, and I'm struggling to see where a whole lot of points is coming from. You know, we've got United away, we've got Chelsea to play at home, we've got Everton away in the derby soon, we've got Fulham, who Slot hasn't beaten yet as a Liverpool manager, we've got Crystal Palace, who we all know what they've done to us multiple times. I'm struggling to see where this man gets the points to get us that 5th spot. And again, like I've said many times, going into this season, nobody knew 5th was going to get us Champions League as a given, so the talk was top 4. Now all of a sudden, they're trying to rewrite history and say the 5th place is good enough. If there was no Champions League for 5th place, would it be good enough? Same league position? No, it wouldn't. So that respect, Glenn, for me, mate, anyway, is why he's still in a job now and why he wasn't sacked in November. Because he should have been sacked back then. And Villa away as well, yeah. No, hasn't beaten Fulham, I feel like, Jerome. No, not to the best of my understanding. I don't believe we've beaten Fulham under Arne. The Thundercats Litterbox said, Edwards Hughes can't change now. If it works, it makes them look even worse than they already do, because it's obvious the change should have come earlier. So again, I guess the thing I'd say there to you, my friend, is how is that helping Liverpool Football Club? We're talking about their own egos here, which is, you know, part of being a leader. And I'm sure they know this. They're not stupid people. Is being able to know your own faults as well and be able to admit them. And it feels like right now stubbornness. And that's the only thing. Because the evidence is to the contrary. And they're still trying to convince us of something that we won't be convinced of. And the results aren't convincing us of it either. So, if anything, this situation's becoming more and more toxic, more and more bitter, more and more annoying, and that division between the fans and the club are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it isn't going to get any better. Have you seen the news about Slot stepping down mutually? No, I haven't. But let's be honest about it. That's just a way to dress it up in a respectful manner. And honestly, I don't care what statement they put out. If they want to say that they did it mutually, cool. No probs. He deserves some respect for winning the league. Like I've said, I've always tried to make a point of that. This is not a personal thing. This isn't anything against Arne Slot, the man. This is just the evidence of what we're seeing. It's just not being good enough. And he can't turn it around. We're 9 months into a new season and he still hasn't turned it around. And also, I don't know if you guys seen the videos doing the rounds. I was looking at something from Barstool Baseball, and they had a clip up of sell the team chants at Fenway as the Red Sox are close to falling to 2-7. So they've got the Red Sox fans who are unhappy with their ownership. They've got the Liverpool fans who are confused as to what the fuck is going on with the club and what direction we're headed in. And is there any leadership there? Hughes and Edwards' future's in doubt. The manager's future's in doubt. The owners are persona non grata. I don't get it. Imagine if Slot stays next season. I don't want to, Ella, because many of us won't. You know, you don't need to take my word for that. Just look at each night we're on here and how many posts are talking about the fact that if he's here next year, they can't bring themselves to watch. It's a tough one, isn't it? The guy said FSG are a problem. If we want to ever dominate again, seeing an article today that getting top 4 matters more than winning the cup. Money is the priority. See, top 4 has now become top 5 though, mate, because of the performances of English teams in European competition. And again, we're saying that Liverpool being 5th in the league table is acceptable to these owners at the end of the season. No, it's not. We all understand why we need Champions League football. None of us are naive enough to think that we don't need the money that comes with it, the attraction of players that comes with it. But as Connor said earlier on, we don't deserve it. We don't deserve Champions League football this season. And if we do get it, it'll be in spite of everything that's happened and a bit of a fluke. Because, like I said, same position next year might not get you Champions League. So a 5th place finish is good enough as long as it's just scraping you into the Champions League. That isn't the mindset of a club that wants to win. Because I don't know about you guys, but 2nd place is failure in my opinion. You know? We talked about what we wanted this season. We talked about what was expected this season. And how these people can talk about the Liverpool way with a straight face when they're telling us that basically we should accept mediocrity and that it's the Liverpool way to accept mediocrity. Because that's what they're saying here. It's the Liverpool way to not sack a manager is another way of saying it's the Liverpool way to just accept any bullshit. This isn't a manager that's been at the club 6 or 7 years and has built up a legacy. It's a manager that seems like now he got a bit more lucky last season and he's been found out since and not been able to put it right at all. Should FSG sell the club? It's a really tough question to answer because at this point of football's evolution, who buys the club? So if we sell it, or FSG sell it, I should say, it's not going to be a local businessman or woman who is done well in life, has an absolute love of Liverpool, and wants to put all their channel and all their efforts into making Liverpool better. It's almost certainly going to be another investment fund of sorts. And their aim will only be to increase revenue. So I think, and I've said this before, mate, the only time we're going to see FSG look at a sale is when they don't think there's any growth left and they've put as much value onto the club as possible. But what type of owners could we expect, really? Like I've always said to you, I don't want state ownership. I don't think it should be allowed in football. So I don't want that. I don't want the Todd Bowley-esque group. I don't want anybody like the Glazers or Ineos. So, yeah, I don't know. I wrestle back and forth on that one because there are things that I'm not happy about with FSG and there are things that they've done really well. But ultimately, it comes down to me, do they do everything to win? Is winning at the heart of everything that they think about? No, is my answer. It is continue to build the club, evolve the club. Success, by all accounts, yes, does bring in some extra revenue and, you know, or kit deals and sponsorship deals, but all of that should be as a foundation for success. And success should be the number one aim, the goal at the start of every season. Trophies, trophies, trophies. Because you've heard me say before about our channel, I always said that if you put out good content, if you're consistent, the rest falls into place naturally. If you do the right things, the rest should become a byproduct of that. And if you build to want to win, and that's the mentality, everything else should come as a byproduct. The sponsorships, obviously the financial revenue from television and stuff. And I don't think that they are obsessive about winning enough. That's the one big criticism I'd have of them. You know, do they stay up, sit up at night worrying about winning stuff? I don't think they do. Leona said, I never thought things would be better after the Galatasaray, the 4-0 win. I can't take another season with Slot in the job. That Galatasaray game feels now, Leona, like the exception, but it's just made it more egregious. Because why can they turn it on when it suits? Why can they turn it on for that night and not do it against Brighton? So that is where I say the players are culpable in this as well, because they've shown that they're capable of it when it suits. So it feels like they're playing within themselves to say goodbye to the manager. And again, to me, that's why I'm saying get rid of him now and get something for the remainder of the season. Because if we don't get Champions League football, and it is a distinct possibility, if we don't, what we don't know is how much will that really set us back? Will it make the owners lose a bit more interest? Will they feel like they were fucked over with the transfers they made last year? Do they feel like Hughes and Edwards sold them a pup? Because I don't know how FSG are feeling about the two guys that they put in charge of running the club. And how could we? Because as always, there's no communication to fans. Only cowardly briefing of friendly journalists from people that are only looking after their own narratives. I don't like it. It's cowardly. Why would Saudi want H&Es after this shit show? H&Es? Oh, Hughes and Edwards, sorry. I guess legitimacy is probably a big part of it. Because they're highly regarded in the world of football in what they do. So I guess more legitimacy is all I can really think of. Over here in Boston, every Liverpool Red Sox fans want FSG gone. So let's ask that as the second poll. So we're nearly at 2,000 votes. If you can, we need about 40 more real quick. Is there any chance Alonso comes in before the end of the season? Again, based off that Space account that we read the piece out from earlier on, he believes, or they believe, that there is certainly a chance that Alonso will be willing to come in earlier to put the foundations in there for the next season. So I'm asking, do you guys think that that's a real chance? I don't think FSG's heart is in it anymore, said the guy. So I think, look, regular viewers of this channel over the years will know my relationship towards FSG as being love-hate. I kept my word this season in that I wasn't going to come on here screaming about where's the money, John, after they backed the manager. So I feel I've been a man of my word on that. But I've always had this feeling, like I said a few minutes ago, that they aren't kept up at night worrying about success. That isn't what drives them. What drives them are the revenues. What drives them is the valuation of the club, the revenue streams. I don't think sitting up at night. I think if we get fifth, John's not going to be sitting at home crying about not winning the European Cup or an FA Cup or a Carabao Cup. I just think he'll be thinking, right, we'll roll into next season now again, revenue secured. So 61% of you guys think no, there isn't a chance that Alonso comes in before the end of the campaign. And thank you so much for everybody else. Let's check this one. How do you want me to word the FSG poll? Do you want me to word it, do I think they're going to sell up? Or do you want me to word it, should they sell up? Or do you want me to ask, are they disinterested? I'd like to know what way you guys would like me to put the poll out, so I'm not leading you to an answer. Ronnie Wood said FSG only cares about trophies if there's money that comes with it. Otherwise, they don't care about winning. Yeah, there's been loads of times that the League Cup has been thrown away. And what annoys me about that, mate, is you can't tell me that the Arsenal fans and the Man City fans that were at Wembley weren't enjoying that, and that their kids or the people that were lucky enough to be there won't have that as a memory. This is why I find it so egregious that we're sticking our nose up to the League Cup, and we're the most successful club in its history. And that team he put out earlier on this season was nothing short of a disgrace. And I said at the time, and I'm never going to say otherwise, throwing away the idea of a trophy is tin pot, especially when you promised us that the reason for the business in the summer was so that we wouldn't be having another Plymouth, that we wouldn't be putting out weakened teams. And at the very first fucking sign of a problem, that's it, another trophy thrown away. Right, so right. Okay, I'm gonna go with the lost interest one, if that's okay. Actually, I'm gonna ask a different way. So, what concerns FSG most? Revenue or trophies? I think that's a fair way to ask it. So are they more concerned with building up revenue, or are they more concerned with silverware? And we'll see what you guys think on that one. Liverpool should never have an arrogant manager. It's a humble culture, so that doesn't match at all. I don't know what to say, because I think Arne is some way arrogant, but I think that might be only from a footballing perspective. I don't know Arne the man, so it feels very unfair of me to say what he is as a human being. But I certainly don't think he has accepted some of the failures this season with a sensible mindset. I think he's tried to find an excuse for it that doesn't really hold water. David Wood said they go hand in hand. No, not necessarily, David, but I would argue that they should be thinking that way, mate. Yes. I mean, I think your premise is right, that they should go hand in hand. You win a lot of stuff, people are going to be kicking down your door to give you money and sponsor you, and so I get you, but I don't think that they care as much. And that's kind of shown by this Champions League qualification bollocks. You know, it wasn't that we have to win the FA Cup. It's that we have to get 5th place. Every journalist that's been writing about that before the game against Man City said they have to get 5th place. Not they have to win a trophy. So, a few later posts this evening, James Pearce said, winning an FA Cup, or winning the FA Cup, would not have saved Arne Slot's job, and exiting at the quarter-final stage will not significantly impact how FSG assesses the season. Lewis Steele said Trent Alexander-Arnold was deeply upset by how his exit from Liverpool played out last season. Look, if I was to address Trent on this, I'd say, tough shit. It's your own fault. You were duplicitous, you strung fans along, you and your snidey arse little brother thought that you were able to slither your way through this and treat people like morons. And you lied. Over and over again. So if Trent feels deep regret, tough. You made your bed, now lie in it. You didn't give a fuck when Liverpool fans were waiting to see what you wanted to do and you're pretending you hadn't made your mind up. So yeah, Trent and his deeply hurt feelings can do one. His sniggering little brother as well, snidey little headnum, sitting there laughing away. It rubbed Liverpool fans up the wrong way. Paul Joyce said, Arne Slot must find a way to turn things around, but doing so is complicated by concerns the squad is inconsistent in its performances and players essentially admit to picking when to perform. Under Jurgen Klopp, whose authority brought a clear edge when standards slipped, Slot is facing a tougher task in regaining control. And that's it. And I've said this to you guys over and over again. Those players aren't going into that dressing room at half-time or at the end of games and we fucked up shitting themselves. But they knew what was awaiting them when Jurgen was there. Because when he had to, he was cutting. He was a proper leader. Tough love when tough love was needed. An arm around the shoulder when an arm around the shoulder was needed. but you knew who was in charge and you knew the standards that had to be kept. Slot isn't the same dude. And I don't disagree with the premise of what Paul Joy said, that the players have certainly been inconsistent and have certainly seemingly decided when they want to show up and perform. And that's an indictment of their character as well. Cole Reardon, thank you, bro, for joining Anfield Agenda FC. Do I ever smile? I do, yeah, I do smile. Do you want me to make a joke about your mother here, or we just all pretend that I've slaughtered you and we can go on? Because, you know, I could absolutely sit here and rip into you, but what have I got to smile about, mate? You know? Not a lot to smile about when Liverpool is a big part of what makes you tick as a person outside of your family life. And I promise you, when I'm with my kids and my wife, I smile quite a bit, yeah. But when I come on here and talk about where we are, it's not great. But again, I get the point you're trying to make. You're another fucking arsehole that thinks that I just moan for the sake of it. Again, get to know me. Don't get to know me, your choice. But yes, I do smile when I have a reason to smile. And unfortunately, we haven't had many reasons on the pitch to smile as of late. But I don't know, maybe I could learn a lesson from a little cook, little beta boy like yourself. Charlie said half the squad out, in my opinion. I mean, it's a real big summer in that regard, Charlie. It is. You know, the churn of players is going to be huge over the next few seasons. You know, from senior pros that are departing or maybe departing soon to new players coming in. It's hard to see who that new, not leadership group, because that's unfair, but who the new standard bearers are going to be in the squad, like your Milners, like your Hendersons. It's hard to see who the next group of those are. How's the studio looking? Can't wait to see it. It's good. Like I was saying yesterday, my man. Just need a few bits hung up, and I just can't pin down the builder at the minute because he's in a bit of a sticky patch with regards to the amount of stuff he has lined up and that. But we'll be there soon, my man. We'll be there soon. Any updates from the behind the scenes people? I haven't really spoke to anyone today, so nothing really changed from my perspective after the conversations that we had yesterday. But you've seen again today. I pay a lot of attention to the tone that is used by journalists when they're writing pieces, and you always see a pattern, a repetition of certain things. And it was for a long time that the club have, and let me know if you agree or disagree with this. For the past month, it's been the club are behind the manager, the club are behind the manager, the club are behind the manager. And then they all start getting grief for that from myself and other Liverpool fans who are like, yeah, we get it, you've been briefed that, but stop bullshitting us all. Now, in the last 24, 48 hours, I've seen a slight change of tack from the journalists. Now they're attacking the players. So they weren't getting anywhere with this, trying to sell us into some vision that Arne Slot's just been unlucky. Now it's, let's have a pop at the players and talk about them. Now, I'm more open to the second one than I am the first one because they're not wrong about the players underperforming. But I just want to know, have you seen that change of tact as well? Because I keep an eye on these things, and there's about 10 journalists that almost put out the same piece in a short period, but, you know, just dance around certain things, but just get to the same points. And it's no accident. And it's no accident that they're all written within 24 hours of each other, because that's what they're briefed. So now it's like, let's mix it up a little bit and attack the players, because we're not going to win the fans over to thinking that Slot deserves more time. So maybe if we can plant in their heads that the players are as responsible for this, maybe by a byproduct of that, you'll get a little bit more leeway for the manager. Just, yeah, pretty transparent, if you ask me. So it's Indy Kayla that said, our sources state that Slot has offered to step down at the end of the season with a package on the right terms. I mean, I say this kindly, but he should be fucking shown the door. And it shouldn't be up to him. You know, whatever the terms of his contract are will have to be held up. But if he had anything about him, he'd have quit in the last month or two because, you know, he's no fool. He knows that those players that dressing him aren't listening to him anymore. This all just feels like performative nonsense now. Star Player said, remember James Pearce said that FSG were fully backing Rodgers 10 days before he was sacked. I don't know how many times I have to reiterate that these lads are all fucking disingenuous. That's the kindest word I can use. You know, I know enough journalists that have told me about the briefings they get, that have told me that they question whether they should write things and then have to balance up their personal careers and opportunities versus, I don't want to say integrity, but their own thoughts on the situation. And they can get away with it by saying club sources, club sources, club sources. I'll cut that out for you. It's Hughes and Edwards. Club sources me arse. It's Hughes and Edwards. And, you know, we know who they're friendly with. They know who they're friendly with. Unfortunately for them now, because of some journalists breaking rank and many people finally starting to speak up, these journalists still don't get the wake-up call. They still arrogantly go around thinking they can talk down to people, look down the noses at us, tell us things that are black or white, things that are up or down, that are left or right. But again, their reputations are in the bin at this point, and I've got no sympathy left for them. Where was I? Did I get that one in? Cole, appreciate you, my friend. Thank you. Peter said, evening, Craig. Have had to take a break from YouTube lately. Respect to you for always being here through this. These players have given up on the manager 100%. We saw these players run the league the last couple of seasons. I understand you need a break. No judgment for me on that one, sir. Tomorrow, I'm taking tomorrow night off live streaming for a couple of reasons. One, I've been streaming every day since I've been back, and I want to get a small break in. And it's the Champions League, so I'm sure a lot of people will be tuning in to the Tuesday game anyway. So I'm gonna relax and watch that tomorrow night. But I have a duty to be here for people. I think it's important that I am, because I can't just talk the talk about our community. We've got to walk the walk, and that includes being here in the good times and bad. Now, I know that clown earlier on said, do I ever smile? But look in the summer. Look at the end of last season and ask me, was I smiling? You know, I can't fake it. If I'm happy, I'm happy. If I'm angry, I'm angry. If I'm frustrated, I'm frustrated. It's going to be written all over my face. And yeah, this is a tough one, Peter. And it's made all the more tough because you see so many people hurting. So many people that I've gotten to know over the last few years. And nobody sees an end in sight. There she is. How are we, Liz? I really wish I could come and give you a hug, Liz. I know you've been through the ringer lately. Sending you love. And I haven't forgotten, by the way. I only reminded myself last night that I promised we'd get something very unique to send over to you. And I'm going to start working on that because it slipped my mind with all the madness. But I remembered last night. So sending love to you and the family. And yeah, not just fuck slot, all of them at this point, Liz. Hughes, Edwards, I'm fed up of all of them because they're not putting the best interests of the fans at heart here at all. I'm fed up of feeling like constantly fans are just noise that needs to be swatted away or kept at a distance. I feel like we deserve more respect. Martin said, Craig, Sloth's handling of Jota tragedy was so on point, and I'm grateful for the way he delivered number 20. But since March last year, he's led the way in the footballing standards being dropped. He's got to go. I echo what you've said about the way he handled the Diogo situation. Incredibly grateful. Yeah, and I said this at the time, and I'll say it again now. Absolutely, 100% agree. Very difficult. Not a situation anybody would ever want to be in. But I do think he handled it with tremendous dignity and respect. And also, like you, I very much appreciative of number 20. But, you know, that goodwill for me has been used up now. And I don't want it to get as bad as it is. I wish he had been fired earlier on, because maybe then people would have had somewhat of a better memory of his time here. But now I feel like it's just getting to the point where it's just toxic. Now that relationship is just toxic. Tim said, Craig, we give you a day off tomorrow. LFC flag bearer. Oh, I disappeared there. Apparently now I can disappear as well. Watch. It's coming. There you go. Disappeared. I'm back. Hologram. I don't know why there's been doing that lately. I must check out the camera. Star Player said, in my opinion, the reason club journalists are told their backing slot is because otherwise FSG would look like they're in a mess. And these journalists just repeat it like good boys. But the problem is that we look like we could be in a mess. So there's a lot of uncertainty around our club from the managerial perspective, from the executive perspective, from Champions League qualification, from a contract situation with some important players. And all of this is before we get into the summer recruitment. They've pretty much, left a lot of uncertainty and a lot of things up in the air. And FSG feel like they've taken their finger off the button a little bit, or taken their foot off the gas in recent years. Look at the situations with Salah, Trent, Mo's contract, Konate's contract now, Robbo's contract, with no communication as to what's happening there, or no clear plan put out as to how things are going to develop. It doesn't scream certainty when not just your manager, but your sporting director and whatever you want to call Michael Edwards, their contracts are up in a year as well, and openly flirting or being flirted with by Saudi. That's not continuity. That's not given. If you're even a player coming in, there's a lot of uncertainty there for you as well in, who's going to be your manager, who's going to be your sporting director, what direction is the club going to be going in? Are you going to be coming in to play with Virgil van Dijk, or are you not going to be playing with Virgil van Dijk? Will Alisson be here? Is it going to be Georgie? Lots of uncertainty, and we haven't even got to the transfer window yet. The players are underperforming because they are demoralised. They don't believe in the tactics and the system. I agree. G. Macaulay, I agree. And that's why, mate, I'm extremely strong of my mindset that getting rid of him now is genuinely the best thing for the season. Because can I understand why they wanted to give him a go after he got through that 9 and 12 stuff? Because some results did change and we did move up the league table. But it's very quickly become clear that that was small and it hasn't really changed. So, again, in the cost-benefit analysis, I struggle to see how people who are supposed to, again, remove emotion, look at this and think that the best chance of success this season is staying with the same coach between now and the end of the season. That our best chance to get Champions League football, that our best chance to get past PSG is keeping the same, just continuing on as we are. 9 months it hasn't worked. What makes them think that the best chance they have of qualifying for the Champions League is staying with Slot? I don't get it. I really, really do not get that. Hey Craig, I'm wondering what kind of revenue would FSC enjoyed it not being for us fans worldwide? Show the fans respect they deserve. Exactly. 700 million in revenue last year. Look, they're not the worst owners in the world. They're not. But, absentee owners are a problem. United sacked Amarim and brought in Carrick, and now look at them. We need to do the same with Slot. Bring in Stevie G as interim manager, then go for Javi or Enrique if available at the end of the season. Exactly. And nobody's sitting here trying to tell you that Michael Carrick is the greatest manager in the history of football, or that he's the new Sir Alex Ferguson. But he was able to go in there and at least enforce some standards and get some respect in the dressing room. And the rest, United worked their way back into a position where they're now going to qualify comfortably for the Champions League. And we're still sticking with a manager that is failing because he won a league last year. And that apparently gives you carte blanche to fuck up an entire season and maybe the season afterwards. Don't get it. Really don't get it. Because if I thought, really, that Slot was the best chance to get us through the end of this season, I wouldn't be sitting here saying get rid of him now. I'd say get rid of him in the summer. But with it so close for the last Champions League spot, and going through the fixtures that we have, and the demoralisation that we felt getting knocked out of the FA Cup and maybe the Champions League, I don't really see how he's going to pick these lads up off the floor to grind out these results. So I think morale has to be taken into account, and that's why I'm so adamant that we need somebody to motivate them. Itachi said, do you think players internally talk about the best would be to sack him now to each other or towards the board? I think that probably comes down to who your close mates are in the squad. I'm sure with your close mates you have these conversations that maybe you wouldn't have in an open dressing room environment or something like that. But of course, you can see from the performances that there are some of them who just aren't listening, I don't want to say don't care, but, you know, aren't putting themselves out and really going through the hard yards. A lot of gesticulating, a lot of accepting of their fate, basically. Billy Beckner said, the reason Carrick is working so well is because he boosted the morale of the team and fans. He's not perfect, but he provides a motivational boost after Amram's poor form. Exactly. Couldn't agree more. You know, didn't get a load of new players. There's no difference other than he was able to go in there, stop the rot, put a bit of confidence in them, put some standards in there, be a bit more tactically flexible with regard to the system. Not rocket science, I know, but again, my question to FSG is why wait for it to be unfixable to act? They probably don't spend any time together or do much real team building. Think about it. If he's gone, every chance he gets, he doesn't live there and give so much and have so much time off. It's an awful culture. I can't disagree. I don't understand living in Manchester near the airport. I don't understand having the fucking barefaced cheek to go on breaks, because international break doesn't mean you're on holiday. It means the players are away, some of them still there at the AXA. Yes, maybe a couple of days off, but it's the wrong message. And I don't know what it sends out. And especially then when we come back and we lose again after the international break, like we did in October, like we've done in March. It just rubs fans up the wrong way. Slabby boy. Can I have that in English? And who's Link? So I'll tell you what I'll do. Rather than me answering your fucking ridiculous question, how about you go away, ask AI to help you construct a sentence that a human being could read. And then maybe we'll go from there. I don't know what to say. And no, I haven't resolved my spat with him yet, nor will I ever. Slabby boy. Did you mean flabby? Is that what you're trying to say, you dumb fuck? Maybe ask an adult next time to write the message for you, my friend, because, you know, clearly you're a couple of sandwiches short of a picnic, to be kind about it. Slabby boy out. Fucking weirdo. I'd love to sit down one day with one of these lads and figure out, do they get some type of sexual gratification or something from me shouting at them? Because I can't imagine a world where you pay money to try to abuse somebody poorly and look like an idiot. It must, I don't know, there must be some sexual gratification or something in it for you, mate. If you're Craig curious, just ask. I'm here to help. He needs time to fix everything like Jurgen Klopp, but he isn't Jurgen Klopp. Simple as that. So, look, I respect your opinion. I disagree with it. Thank you for sharing it, but he isn't Jurgen Klopp. He hasn't had the credit in the bank that Jurgen Klopp had. He inherited a team far better than Jurgen Klopp inherited. And like I said, for all the reasons I've spelled out, I don't think he does deserve that chance. But I respect that you see it differently. No probs. The City match news is what I woke up to after my coma. Yeah, I can imagine that wasn't was it nice to come back around, Liz, to see? But I'm just glad you did. And I'm glad that you're here. And I'm glad that you're able to feel annoyed, you know? I'm glad to still have you in my life as a friend. And honestly, like, I don't get these weird little fuckers. Like I'm fat. I get it. But is that what you've got to contribute? Like, I'm sorry to bang on about it, but I don't get it. I'm fat, so that what? What does that mean? I'm fat. What? I'm lazy? Well aware of it. I eat too much? Fair enough. But what has it got to do with anything? You know, I'm also Irish. Do you want to have a pop at that? Like, I don't understand it. If you don't like me, cool. But if you want to, like, have a pop at me, at least try to pick apart my footballing thoughts or something else. Like, all you do by coming in to insult me is let me know that, one, I'm in your head rent-free and I don't even know who you are. Two, you're some type of little cook that's never going to go anywhere in life. And three, you're sometime along your future, you're going to get an absolute fucking hiding off somebody and deserve it. I just don't get it. Like, do something better with your life. You know, spend that, give that money to charity. Do something positive. It'll make you feel better. You won't go to bed as angry at night or, you know, blaming the world for your failures. Just do something positive. I really do not understand the mentality of anybody that gets up every day to belittle other people and adds nothing to their community or their society. It's weird and it's sad. Because honestly, I couldn't imagine my own kids doing that because they're not as unhappy as you clearly are. I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry that you feel that pain. Itachi said, seems like Arne doesn't care anymore and players either. It's such a toxic relationship, in my opinion. It's just so unfortunate, the whole lot of it. You know, and I never ever thought we'd be at this point in April, you know, after our summer. I really, really did not expect it to be like this. It hurts on a load of different levels. It hurts because obviously the manager's not working out. It hurts because the players aren't putting a shift in. It hurts because the transfer looks like a bit of a scattergun approach. It hurts because we don't know the continuity of the executive positions or the club moving forward. There's just so many concerning things that it's hard to know really where to start. Alex said, because they get a reaction like this, mate. But the thing is, Alex, maybe I'm naive here, mate. Maybe I'm naive, but what good has ignoring these type of people done to the internet? Like, has it made them go away? So for me, ignoring a problem isn't addressing a problem. Addressing a problem is trying to appeal to somebody's better nature. Because deep down, mate, I know everybody has one. Nobody was born into this world that bitter, that horrible, that twisted, that sick. Nobody. That's learned behavior. So ignoring it isn't going to change it. And I'll never, ever stop speaking up for common decency because somebody has to. And again, I need to be able to sleep at night. So you can say it's a provoking reaction from me, but I'm saying that ignoring it hasn't helped us here. Across any site you're on, it just sends them somewhere else. Much rather try to, you know, break through, even to one. Take the idiot super chat money. Oh, I will. I promise you that I will. I've just read a story from Anfield Beat. Are they reliable? I honestly don't know. I wouldn't want to say something one way or the other. I don't know who they are. So for me, I couldn't help you out on that one. Right, let's check in on our poll. We asked you, it's pretty clear this one, what concerns FSG the most? Revenue or trophies? Alex said, fair enough, didn't look at it that way. And that, see Alex, even just that tonight is enough for me, mate. Because if I've given you maybe just another glimpse at my perspective, you know, that works for me, my man. And I do understand where you're coming from. And a lot of the time when you guys say this to me, I know you're looking out for me as well. And yeah, but thank you. Dave said, Craig, how the F can we build fitness and cohesion training for 20 minutes a day on the grass? Yeah, so this is where, Dave, I have to say, for all my my confidence and my knowledge of football, that side of things is a very specialised thing, red zone training. And I'm not qualified enough or understanding enough. In theory, yes, if you're not building up that fitness in competitive training, it's difficult to then build it up in a match. So I would be, yeah, training should be hard, training should be physical, training should be high level. And the best I can come up with for a reason to explain the drop off this season, I kind of wonder, was the remnants of Jurgen's team and fitness still there last year, but it's kind of ebbed away as the training methods have been brought more into line with what Arne Slot wants. I'm playing every 3 days because, you know, people who are far better qualified to speak about this than me have been questioning the training methods, and I'd certainly bow down to their knowledge on it because, you know, they speak about it with a lot more knowledge than I do. But it certainly is something that many people have picked a hole in that they're not happy with. And, you know, we can see the lack of running. You know, we've been outrun 26 or 27 times this year. Does Giovanni from Bronkhorst have some blame? Again, it's a good question. I don't know because I've not really heard much about Giovanni from Bronkhorst. Under Johnny Heidinger's time, there was a lot of stuff coming out to say the players enjoyed the sessions, the players enjoyed him as a personality. I really personally haven't heard anything on Giovanni from Bronkhorst, positively or negative. I don't know. It's a good question. I'd love to know the answer to it. What we do know is that, according to multiple reports, Slot asked to bring Heidinger back in and the club said no. Now, if I was him and I asked that question and got that answer, that would be a big indication to me that probably they're saying no because you ain't going to be here. Name a team that outrun us on the clock. Would you believe, Paul, there was one season on the clock where we were outrun maybe, I think it was 24 times in a season. If I don't have the exact number to hand, but the only reason I know it is because it surprised me when I read it. But yeah, it did happen under Klopp, but certainly this is the worst of it this season. There was something else earlier on. 1 second. Where was it? Sorry, bear with me. I swear I put it in here. Yeah, sorry, I don't have the note I was looking for to make my point, so we'll just breeze on through. I wanted to talk for a minute about something that isn't Liverpool related, but does have an impact on football. It's a story in the Guardian newspaper, and it kind of got me thinking, is the football bubble about to burst with regards to the finances and stuff like that? 9 Premier League clubs have yet to secure front-of-shirt commercial deals for next season, and 12 haven't signed contracts, leading to increasing concerns that several clubs may begin the campaign without a shirt sponsor. That's crazy. I know, obviously, betting companies were a big avenue for some football clubs there, but you know, it just made me wonder, and I don't know. It's I guess just, you know, an open question. Is the bubble bursting from a financial perspective? Are the numbers now being required or asked to sponsor clubs just unreasonable for a lot of companies, or are they spread too thin? I don't know, but that's worrying. Like, up to 12 clubs there, no contract signed for a shirt sponsorship deal next year. Cole, you gonna keep throwing money at me, mate, to abuse me? Fix it with Lynchy boy. No, I won't. He owes me an apology for two things. One, threatening me with the police for him being tagged in a post on Twitter. And two, for throwing me under the bus. So no, I've no interest in fixing it with him. I gave him a chance, and it won't be happening again. But again, cheers for the money, my man. And slabby isn't a word. Flabby is what you're looking for, but no, it won't be happening. Sorry, bear with me one sec. That's mad, because your messages aren't coming through on the main channel, so you must be banned and they're only coming through on the back end. That's funny. Oh, there we go. Back to the chat, sorry. Right, we move on. Do you think we can beat PSG if we play the way we did against Galatasaray? It would certainly give us a better chance of it, but that was Galatasaray, and Galatasaray are terrible away from home. So hard to know how much stock to put in that. But look, to get past PSG, I think we're going to need to play remarkably well over two games. Is it possible? Of course it's possible, but again, it's hard to have any confidence, even to know which version of us is going to show up. So yeah, my hope for Wednesday is that it just doesn't put the tie out of reach after the first leg. Just wants to ask if we can get a poll on Hughes and Edwards getting sacked if they do think go back to Klopp, even sporting director. So I happily do the poll for you. We've got time to do it as well. So let me get this one up to 1,500. So we need about 150 votes, if you can, on what concerns FSG most, revenue or trophies. And when we get to 1,500, I'll do your Hughes and Edwards poll. On the second part of it, with regard to Klopp coming back into the club, I just don't see it, because let's say he comes in as a sporting director. Any failure from the coach is going to lead to clamour for him to come in. And also, if you're a coach, you're probably going to feel undermined by having him above you in the structure. So, Klopp's real plus points would be his match day credentials, if you want, being able to get a reaction from the players, being able to be there on the sideline for the lads to look at and respond to, him fist pumping and him cheering tackles. And I don't think he would have the same allure as a sporting director, and it wouldn't have the same positive impact on the club in the same way. Keane said, when do you think he goes after PSG? I wonder, and I pose this question to the lads, if we got beaten handsomely, let's say we got a 4-0 beaten in Paris, do we think he's still in charge for the return leg? I mean, at this point, it feels like come what may, he's going to be here till the wheels fall off at the end of the year. But, I wonder, is there any way it can get so bad between now and then that they pull the trigger? I think Gerrard Alonso would thrive knowing Jurgen's upstairs. Look, I'd like to think so, but you know what I'm saying though. If it didn't go to plan, or there was some bumps in the road, it would be a natural clamour for people to go, Jurgen, come on, Jurgen, down on the sideline there for a little bit. But look, I'm the same as all of you guys. I'd love this mad world where Kloppo's there, Gerrard's there as Alonso's assistant. I mean, the vibes would be unreal. I wonder if Klopp had a greater meaning to us than any player. Just curious. Oh, that's a really good question. Does Klopp have a bigger connection or meaning to me than any player? No. I don't think anybody is going to outdo Steven Gerrard for me, because I wasn't around to see Kenny's playing day, so I only have the knowledge of Kenny from studying the club and seeing the videos and clips, and obviously what he did as a coach. So he probably comes. Yeah, it's Gerrard. Other than Gerrard, outside of him, probably yes. Jurgen's certainly one of the most pivotal influences in a positive way on Liverpool in my lifetime. But that's a good question. Biggie Mal said Kenny is special to the older ones. Oh look, I was only watching a documentary last night about the Hillsborough season and the FA Cup win, and again Blues and Reds coming together, all again an admiration of Kenny. And look, I totally understand that. Of course, Kenny is the epitome of everything the football club stands for, and rightly so. I just didn't get that joy to get to watch him as a player. Unfortunately, it was a bit before my time. But yeah, for me, Klopp's been the greatest manager of my lifetime, without a shadow of a doubt, and definitely one of the biggest influences or reasons for success. Liverpool fan gamer said, if I remember rightly, when Paisley took over, Shankly was banned from the training ground as it distracted people. Klopp might distract from Alonso. Yeah, that would be my fear. But again, I can totally understand the sentiment of it. I totally understand why people would be open to it. I like to see it. Right, we've got 35 more votes to go. And then I'm going to ask you about Hughes and Edwards' future for the last poll before we finish up. So if you can, folks, let me know. What concerns FSG most, revenue or trophies? It's pretty one-sided, but we'd love to try and get the round 1,500. Joseph said, I don't expect another Klopp, not in a stylistic or personal sense, but we do need better than Arne at this point. Of course, I agree. I never expected Arne or anybody to come in and be Jurgen. I did expect them to be different, but at this point, it isn't that he isn't Jurgen. It's that it isn't working, and it's as simple as that for me. Craig, apparently the team will travel to Paris by coach. Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, I have no idea they're going on the Eurostar. I haven't got a clue. Wouldn't, it would be short to fly over, obviously, but, I'm sure they've thought it through, whatever way they're going. Right. 10 votes to go, and then we'll knock this one and we'll ask about Hughes and Edwards. I'm not going to use the word sacked in the poll, but I am going to ask, do you think Hughes and Edwards leave either now or at the end of their deals? Because it's not looking like there's going to be, especially from Edwards' side, there's going to be an extension. Certainly it's not expected at this point anyway. Right, so there we go. 91% of you guys that voted and 1,500 votes said that revenue is what concerns the owners the most. So again, I don't disagree with that. How am I phrasing this? So, will Hughes and Edwards leave within the next year? So, I basically mean either they don't sign a new deal this summer and they go, maybe they run down the deal, but basically I'm asking, do you think that their futures are in doubt? Do you think they're going to go somewhere? Because certainly a lot of journalists openly say that the Saudi links aren't going away. We've got no indication of a new contract for them, certainly not that I've seen. Don't know what FSG's thinking is with Hughes and Edwards, whether they're happy, not happy, haven't got a clue. So I really don't know what to expect in that regard. Because, again, how could we know? Because we don't get any communication from the club. Is Jorginho Wijnaldum a Liverpool legend? No. It depends on what your measurement of a legend is. A club, great, maybe, yeah. But a legend, I wouldn't put him into that category personally. Do think we sold him too early. Do think there's a bit of resentment there from what I understand. But I wouldn't use the word legend, no. Legend's reserved for me for, your Gerrards, your Kennys, Salahs, Rush, Phil Thompson's, Alan Hansen's, Crazy Horse. That's what I would be, putting legendary status on. The Gakido said, not to share something of credibility, but I've heard that there's a possible Anfield mass walkout protest on the cards. No clue if it's true or not, but what are your thoughts on it? So the only thing I've heard about is a protest about the ticket price increases before the Fulham game. Outside of that, haven't got a clue. I feel like it depends on what the motivation is. So if the motivation of that walkout would be to let the owners know that they're unhappy with the manager, I feel I'd rather a couple of statements come out. So let's say the Spirit of Shankly, Spy on Cop, and whomever else put that out into the world that they're unhappy, rather than having them walk out mid-game. Again, because I don't think that gives us the best chance of getting a result. So, yeah, I'm not against anybody trying to have their voices heard. Not at all. But that can also get to a very toxic situation. Because let's imagine that those guys did that. We lost the game. It's easy then to start seeing fans pitting themselves against each other and arguing again. So, again, would like to have some type of coming together of fans to acknowledge that all fans, whether they local, non-local, match going, non-match going, the majority of them just need some communication that they understand how strong the feeling is amongst the fans on the situation with the manager. Because they've tried everything. They've tried in the media. I mean, they've tried saying it, well, inside the stadium, it's very different from the fans online. Then when that started to show to be bullshit, then they start trying to say, well, it's only X amount of people. It's not everyone that's behind or that's against Arna. Now they're saying that it is. Now they're trying to point the finger at the players and say, well, Arna's been dealt a tough card because the players aren't performing. And it just seems like they're just scrambling around all the time, trying to find some way to justify Arna failing and the team failing. Craig, hope you and the family are doing well. Much love from South Africa. Yeah, can't complain, my friend. Can't complain. Been a busy week since I've come back, so I'm flagging a little bit if I'm being honest with you. Craig O'Clock Dan, how are you, my friend? Said, when Slot is out, do you think Elliot comes back? Yeah, this is something that we talked a bit about on the podcast earlier on. I don't know what happens with Harvey Elliott. Like, for instance, if Alonso came in, I don't know if that resets Elliott's future at the club or not. I don't know if Elliott would be open to resetting his future at the club. I suspect he would be because he's a Liverpool fan. But that's another uncertainty for us, Don't know what's going on with Robbo. Don't know what's going on with Konate, although certainly some optimism that maybe a breakthrough is close there. Don't know what's going on with Elliott. We don't know how serious Alisson's injuries are going to be into next season. We don't know whether Georgie's going to be ready for the step up. We don't know whether Conor Bradley is going to have continuation of injuries. We don't know what's happened with Stefan Bajcetic. He was 1 year to go on his contract. Do you roll the dice on a new deal for him and send him out on loan and hope his injuries are behind him? And that's before we talk about bringing in players. And then we've got Hughes, we've got Edwards. It's becoming very daunting, the amount of potential pitfalls that there are. And it's becoming more and more worrisome as each week and day goes by. Liz said, "Be kind to my friend Craig. I love you all. See you soon." And right back at you, my friend. Love from all of us for yourself and your family as always, Liz. Skater Hardy said, "The lack of accountability from the club makes me understand how Slot gets away with his lack of accountability in training. We need to clean up, Craig, bring Xabi and build something beautiful." So, to get back to the Xabi thing, I know that space post was very wordy, but the crux of it is that their information as they put it out into the world is that Alonso is now willing to have a conversation about being more involved between now and the end of the season. And I would really love that to be the case. And initially I thought, no, I don't think he'd want to do it because if it doesn't work out well, that damages him. But the more I've actually heard the reasoning behind this, the more I think it makes some sense. So, long story short, the thought process would be that Alonso could come in, put down a marker now to let people know what's coming in the summer, what to expect training wise, stop the rot, get his feet under the table, get a little look at things, stabilise it, and then have a better platform to start off for next season in what would be a shortened summer anyway because of the World Cup. And they point back to the Leverkusen time where he came in and the time the club was 17th, got them back in the right direction, and then built more on that the following season and won the league. Won the league in a very convincing manner as well, unbeaten throughout the whole season. So that kind of did give me a new perspective on the possibility of that one, which is why I opened up tonight's stream with that poll asking, do you think it's possible? Because I would have said no, and I don't know if this dude's right or not, but the thought process I can understand. Ishmael said, "Craig, I think we get smashed by PSG and then Alonso comes in." So Matt said he'll get some time with the team and settle around. I'd love for him to come in now. So would I, because like I said, he would then know exactly what he's in for in the summer. And it would give us more time to plan, give us more time to prepare. You know, but I could also understand that if a manager like Alonso or somebody said, I don't want it now, I want it at the end. But if he's open to it, I would have loved for it to happen. Why was Van Bronckhorst appointed assistant manager this season? Poor at Rangers beforehand and gets the assistant manager's job. I don't know, Leo. I don't know how that deal came about. I haven't got a clue. There was lots of speculation around who it might be. You know, Dirk Kuyt's name was in the mix at one point. So how they ended up with Giovanni van Bronckhorst, I don't know. I don't know much about him. Obviously, I know his time at Rangers, but as a guy, what type of lad he's like, I haven't got a clue. So for me, it's I just assumed Slot respected him as a coach and, you know, that they gel and that it's just something he thought would work for him. So I brought him in. Do you think players will sign new contracts if Slot gets sacked at the end of the season? I think at this point, Tanya, the players probably are aware that he's not going to be in charge next season. And if they're about to sign a new deal, we'll probably be making that point clear that, you know, I need a clarification on what the manager's position is going to be next season. So I don't know if it would make any difference or not, because I think they'd probably be looking for those assurances anyway. And thank you, Tanya, by the way, for your super chat, my friend, and your support as always. Really appreciate you. Craig, what's your genuine opinion on this season and next season? No sugarcoating. Your genuine opinion. My opinion on this season is that it's been a fucking disgrace all around, from the players' perspective, from the coach's perspective, from the club's unwillingness to acknowledge the reality of the situation we're in. And it's been the most difficult season as a Liverpool fan that I've encountered, full stop. And I include the Hodgson season in that. Because like I've said before, I understood why we were shit when Hodgson was here. Looked at the playing squad, looked at the coach, looked at the financial landscape. We weren't great. But we did all that hard work. And Jurgen did to build the club back up. And then we see warning signs at the end of last season that were ignored again coming into this season. And standards were allowed to slip. And excuses were made over and over again for things that, to me, are inexcusable. So next season, we're going to be better. Whoever's in charge. Worst case scenario, even if it was Slot, we're going to be better. And for obvious reasons. 1, Isak will be back. 2, we'll have some new centre-backs available to us. We'll have to find a solution on the right-hand side. We'll have to bring in more pace. So I think whatever happens, we'll be better next season. But I believe we could be better than any increase if we get rid of the manager. I do think wholeheartedly it's beyond fixing at this point. Even with maybe some players departing and, new players becoming the voices in that dressing room, I just think it's run its course. And most importantly, I don't think the fan base are for winning around at this point. I think it's gotten, and the club have allowed this to get to this toxic point, and with their own stubbornness and lack of communication. So yeah, I hope that's answered your question as well as I could, but I think it'll be better come what may next season, but I still don't think it would be the best version of us if we were to go back into it with Arna. 6th place, Xabi in or win Champions League, Slot stays. Always want us to win a trophy. Always. My desire for Liverpool to win will always outstrip my own personal belief system about the manager or anybody else. I would give anything for you and I and everyone else to be sitting here in the end of May celebrating a Champions League win. It makes the season worthwhile then. So yeah, always want a trophy above everything else, above my own beliefs, a trophy. Because that's what success is. That's what we bang on about. And I've said many times this season, if he by some miracle pulled the Champions League out of his backside, find it hard to sack him at that point. Even with my own belief systems that I'll be proved right in the long term, I think that buys him next season. But the real question is, do I think there's any chance in hell we win the Champions League? And not a fucking hope. How could I with what we've seen recently? How could any of us with a straight face sit here and say, I really believe we can win the Champions League? And remember, I've seen Liverpool go over with Igor Bishan, with no Xabi Alonso, and go over, beat Juventus, and then win a Champions League against AC Milan where we've no right to be in that game. So I've seen miracles. But when the fight isn't there, no chance. Because the only way you overachieve is by having a desire and a will not to be beaten. And we don't have that at the minute. The mentality's just not right. What percentage is your chance Alonso and Charles next season? I don't know how to say, mate, because I feel like I'll give you 95% that the manager's not here next season, but it's open to your own interpretation whether you think Alonso's the best choice or not. We don't know who may come available in the summer. Alonso, to me, is a more than credible choice, but I don't know. I don't know. Like, I've been told the direction of travel is headed towards Alonso, but it's football and anything can change. At this point, they just need to do the right thing with Arna, and then we'll have all these conversations about if it's going to be Xabi, if it's going to be Nagelsmann, if it's going to be somebody else. But we got to get the first part done first. Craig, did you know Arne Slot when he was at Feyenoord? I had to research him. I did, mate, actually, because a couple of seasons before that, there was talk linking him with Spurs, and that's when he really came on my radar, when Spurs were being linked with Slot. He turned them down, but I did get to know a bit about him at that point, which is why when we announced them, I was able to, give a bit of a perspective on him. And I have to say, I'm surprised that it's gotten away from him in the way it has this season, because I did think he would be a stronger character and would have more about him. So yeah, I did know. I did know who he was at that point, though. Yes, I wasn't one of these people that a lot of people were saying Liverpool fans had to search him. I didn't have to search him. I knew who he was, but yeah. I just don't know how we got here. I'm sorry for keep going back to it, but I don't know how we got here. And I don't know where our style has gone or our identity has gone. I think that Slot sticks with his 4-2-3-1 tactic but doesn't adapt it during the match, which makes us lose a lot of matches. This is why Slot is not good for the job. Again, looking at the personnel and the previews coming out at 10:40, so it will be out when the stream is finished. Yeah, I really struggled putting together a predicted 11 for this one, because if you don't play Mo, people automatically think you're scapegoating Mo. But I didn't play Mo, and my reasons for that, I think, were solid. The defence, I've made a change in the centre back pairing in the defence. I tried to explain that. I've made what I can only describe as going to be a very unpalatable change on the left side. But I tried to justify my reasoning in the video as to, for me, the aim here is to make sure the tie is still alive when we get back to and I'm trying to look at where we may get any advantage. And one way I think we could get an advantage over PSG is from set pieces, because we do have taller, bigger players than them, and I think we should be looking to make the most of that. Is Xabi limited to 3 at the back? No, he's played before at the back at Real Madrid as well. Is his preferred system is 3 at the back, but he is more tactically flexible than Amorim would have been. Craig, a while ago you mentioned the guy connected to Munich was coming on with huge news, but didn't hear anything. What was that about? I didn't say anybody was coming on with huge news from Bayern. Never said it once. Maybe you've misheard me. Maybe I talked about the Bayern account putting something up, but I never said anybody was coming on with any news. Cody in your starting 11. Yeah, he is. That's the unpalatable one. And my reason for Cody in my starting 11 isn't because I think he's a dynamic winger. My reason is I think he's tactically aware. I think he defensively can help us out. And I think from set pieces, his height will be a benefit to us. That's my reason for putting him in. He's been out for the last couple. Hasn't really changed anything for us. And again, my aim for this game is to not let it get away from us too much. And then we can talk about winning it at Anfield. But yeah, my reasoning is, like I said, I think we need to be tactically switched on, rigid, difficult, and we need to use every possible attribute to get anything out of this fucking game. And I'll take a 1-0 loss happily at this point to bring it back to Anfield. I just don't want to be sitting here on Wednesday talking about a 4 or 5-0 whooping and the tie being dead. But again, I get it. I'm expecting pushback on it, but that's the reason why I went with Gakpo on the left. I meant was going to post news about Bayern. I think it was about Elise. No, I don't have a recollection of a Curtis. Sorry, mate. I may have said it, mate, and I may have had a great intention, but it's not ringing a bell with me at the minute, dude. Is Ibu in your 11? No, he isn't. And again, the reason Ibu isn't in my 11 is the mistake side. Not that I think he's been much better or worse than Virgil, but that he has that red card / stupid free kicks brain fart in him. And that intensified in the city he's from. No, I just, again, that's why I made that change. Because I don't want red cards. I don't want stupid yellow cards. I don't want fullbacks being booked in the first half hour and then being unable to, make a tactical foul. All of these things. Craig becoming Arteta now, more worried about the opponents. I think in this case, yeah, I have to be. Because I know if there's any miracle to be pulled out, it's at Anfield with the crowd behind them and the bit between their teeth. So, yeah, I am. I'll admit, I'm going over there hoping that we can just keep it competitive and, keep the tie alive. I don't feel great admitting that, but that is where my head's at. Right, folks, we're asking, will Hughes and Edwards leave within the next year? Let's see if we can get this up to the 1,000 votes before we finish up. We've got about 5 minutes left, so we need just over 200 votes. If you haven't subscribed, we'd love you to do that as well. A reminder, podcast episode is out now on Spotify. Preview is coming out at 10:40. Tomorrow night, I won't be here with a late night agenda, but we will have news videos coming out throughout the day. Connor will be here in the morning. I'll be here early evening. And then, of course, we'll have a news video out at about 9 tomorrow as well. I'll probably record that at halftime in the Champions League games. And then we'll be back here on Wednesday for a huge night in the season. 6:45 start for us. We'll have our match reaction, player ratings video and everything else. Again, want to just quickly remind you guys about our April competition. We're giving away a signed Charles Oliveira glove, completely free. You can either choose to have it framed or unframed, and that is with thanks to our great friends at thecollectorscorner.co.uk. Scan the QR code on the screen or use the link in the description below for further details. We're going to be running a competition with these guys every month in 2026, and again, your support is greatly appreciated. If you'd like to treat yourself to something from their website, you can do so and get 20% off with our code Anfield Agenda 1. You can use that at checkout. Stevie Boy said, Liverpool are getting smashed. Doesn't matter who starts. That's my fear, mate. That's my fear. And mentally, it will just be... Mate, I'm not really prepared for Wednesday night and what could happen. I'm fearing the worst, and there's not many times supporting this club I've really, really, really feared what might happen. I've always had a little inkling of optimism or hope. At the minute, mate, oh God, yeah. Coming off a 4-0 loss to City. Craig, will you lose by 6 like we did on aggregate? Peter, it couldn't rule it out, mate. How could I? If PSG are on form and we're not, you seen what happened to you guys, it could happen to us as well. So, I don't know, but it's not impossible. And even the fact that I'm saying that is an indictment of where we're at, mate. Craig, did you see that the squad is travelling to Paris by bus? Yeah, somebody mentioned it to me earlier on. Look, if whatever works for the club, whatever's the best way for them to go over. Craig, whatever happens will be good. If we win and get through, great. If not, Slot gets sacked. Yeah, there's definitely that way of looking at it as well. Stephen Oglesby, thank you so much, my friend, for gifting 10 memberships. Very kind of you, and I'm sure they'll be really appreciated as well. Thank you, my friend. Craig, you might need another family holiday after this weekend. Yeah, the next one is September. We're going away for a few nights in June for a birthday party over to Spain for one of my cousins. I call him my uncle, but he is technically my cousin. But yeah, we're going over there for me and Sabrina for 4 nights in June. But yeah, September, Toronto. That's the next family break. If we get demolished in the first leg, does he walk or get forward before the second leg? I mean, you'd like to think he'd be fired, but at this point, I don't know how much faith to put in the club doing the right thing at this juncture because they haven't done it yet. Right, still time to vote, by the way, if you haven't. We're asking, will Hughes and Edwards leave within the next year? We're about 30 votes away from 1,000, so if you haven't voted, please do. James said, Craig, lately I feel one player makes a mistake and the whole team falls apart. Yeah, exactly. Which is so unlike us. Usually that mental strength and, that iron will has been there. So yeah, to see us like you said, capitulate after an hour or going behind, it's really disconcerting. Irish boy said he's not getting sacked until we're totally screwed. Unfortunately, my man, I think you're probably right. And again, that annoys me because the season is somewhat salvageable, and they're choosing to stick their fingers in their ears and let the worst happen. Do you think if there's a chance we lose heavily in the first leg, we'd sack him before the second leg? Again, I'd hope so, but I don't have a lot of faith in that at this moment in time. So look, I'm going to say goodnight. On the poll, 72% of you guys think that they will be leaving in the next year, and 28% of you think that they will not. So look, again, I won't be live tomorrow, but we will have lots of videos going out for you, and appreciate all your support as always tonight. If you can, do hit that like button for me before you head off. But look, thank you again for being here with me, listening to me, and sharing your thoughts on the club as well. Appreciate you all, and we'll see you tomorrow.